very warm welcome. Good evening from wherever you might be. A lot of folk in Ireland. We have some people in the UK. We have people in South Africa. So big welcome to you all. This is our very, very first webinar of Howzit Expats, and specifically focused on Ireland, Howzit Ireland. And I'm in Dublin. My name's Lamont Kritzinger. I'll be your host this evening. If I can just move the screen along, there you go. I'll be your host this evening. And I'm the founder of Howzit Expats, and I'm also a global financial coach. Just a little caveat at the bottom left of the screen there, the webinar is recorded. And also just to mention, the purpose of these webinars is not to give any advice as such, but is to provide factual information to South African expats or wannabe expats, in fact. So it's great to have you with us. And we'll start with the serious stuff from the outset. So there is a lucky draw tonight, an attendance lucky draw, and you need to have fingers on the buttons. So how it will work is there are 8 fantastic prizes there, as you can see. There are membership prizes for Howzit Expats. There are mystery prizes, which I'll reveal a bit later. There are advertising packages for any of you in business. And then there's the real big 3-in-1 Laduma prize, number 8. And so I'll introduce you to the Shosholoza wheel, as you can see it on the left there. That's what we'll be using to determine the prize winners a little bit later. So if you'd like to enter the draw to be a prize winner this evening, then can I ask you to go to the chat and to type in Howzit Expats. The first 8 who type in Howzit Expats are in the draw. So you're going to be quite quick. Howzit Expats in the chat. Okay. We'll go in order.
Gosh, that was quick. That was fast.
Have you got 8, Tracy?
I'm just looking. That was like super fast.
Tracy's going to post the 8. Excellent. So we have a draw. Howzit Expats in the draw. And we'll do the draw a little bit later. So I thought this is the first webinar. I thought I'll give you a little bit of background about Howzit Expats, the origin, where it comes from, and what it's all about. So just in a couple of minutes, very quickly, you might wonder, what are the ostriches about? Where do they come from? Why Howzit? Why the tagline, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail? So to start the story, I can maybe tell you a little bit about ostriches and the myth that ostriches bury their heads in the sand. Now, in financial planning, actually, my background is in finance. That's used quite often from a human perspective, where people don't take action and they procrastinate and they bury their heads in the sand. So poor ostriches, they've got that reputation, but it's not really true. They don't really bury their heads in the sand. They do have a real Howzit looking face, in my view. So we thought not a bad idea maybe to associate ostriches, also many of them in South Africa, with Howzit Expats. As you know, a lot of South Africans on this webinar, and if you're watching from home this evening, you might be South African as well. You all know the word Howzit. Howzit, our greeting for hello, but maybe a little bit more deeper in terms of how are you doing, how's it going, a genuine interest in somebody else. What really struck and caught my eye when I was looking for logos for Howzit Expats was this picture over here. A family looking in the same direction. If ostriches could fly, they used to fly apparently many years ago, but if they could smile rather, they're almost smiling if you have a look at this. So a family all sort of pointing in one direction and quite happy and content. And then a little story quickly. I've never been on Facebook much in my life. In the middle of last year, I wanted to do a survey in Ireland on what South African expats in Ireland did before they came and when they arrived. And you can see, sort of standing out that there's work to be done when you move countries. But the reason I put the story up here was I struggled to actually get through to this. Some of you might be a member of this website, this Facebook site. Welcome to South Africans in Ireland. And the administrator first wouldn't let me in. I said to my wife, Lara, why doesn't he let me in? He's saying I'm a fraud. And she said it's probably because I only have 12 friends or something, whatever at the time. And never really been on Facebook. And then I started looking what happens in Facebook. What do people talk about? What are they saying? What are they sharing? And I found this, and you can read that for yourself. Am I the only one who feels sad and depressed sometimes when I think of home? I've only been here for a month, came here alone for work. It feels lonely sometimes. And a lot of comments on that you can see, 96 comments and emojis. And this is 12 November 2022. And in fact, if you look a bit further up and you look at 2023, 24, 25, you'll find every year there'll be some websites and some Facebook sites rather, where some of these comments and sentiments are shared. And that was really concerning to me, actually. So that's the story with the logo and the Facebook story to get to this point of Howzit Expats, which is essentially a portal. The vision being for South Africans who leave South Africa and go and work and live overseas in any other country, not just Ireland, in fact, to actually help them, support them in terms of their well-being and their thriving. The spotlight's on financial well-being, the spotlight's on well-being. It's country agnostic, and our tagline is: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So, just in summary, there, that's a little statement from myself there. I'd like people all over the world, expats, to thrive and not just survive. I thought I'd just share a couple of website pages from Howzit Expats so you can just have a look. You can see that's our front page. If you look at the top there, what are we focusing on? The expat journey. We've got expat well-being. We've got a business directory. We've got contributors in terms of businesses that can take part. We've got a membership area. We've got events, webinars. We've got thought leadership, etc., etc. So quite a bit in our website. There's a bit on financial well-being, all the things you need to focus on, some other tips and support. And then we got 3 phases actually in Howzit Expats. We focus on phase 1. We call it wannabe expats, those that intend to move to another country. All the things you need to think about then. Obviously a massive move. Once you're already an expat, what are the things you need to consider and think about? And then often people go back home or people go somewhere else, changing direction. And all these 3 phases actually have different nuances. And that's why we've got content on each one of them. On the membership side, I thought I'd just share a little bit on this. So you'll see on the screen there that we have Join Ireland Community and Join United Kingdom Community. Just to say to you, in a couple of days, actually, we'll be going live in the United Kingdom as well. In other words, all South African expats moving to the UK, they will also be able to join Howzit United Kingdom, just like you can in Ireland. So there are quite a lot of membership benefits, actually. This is one of our core value propositions. These webinars, these are community webinars. These are monthly webinars. And you will experience this tonight. And if you're watching from home, you'll experience what a webinar, a community webinar is like. You'll have access to business webinars. How's my business webinars for if you're in business? You've got 2 complimentary fact find sessions with a global financial coach. You can vote for a webinar topic. You can ask the expert questions on topics. You get a quarterly newsletter and quite a lot more. Okay, so there's quite a lot of planning that went into this in terms of getting a strong value proposition for expats in Ireland and then soon to be in the UK. All right, so let's focus on Ireland. And of course, that's the map of the world there, and expats are all over the world. The UK is, I think, number 1 in terms of South African expats. Ireland, I believe they're about 20,000 or 22,000, or some people have higher numbers in Ireland. So let's talk about Howzit Ireland. The tagline is slightly different for Howzit Ireland. It's building stronger communities. The focus really is on community, okay? And the vision is to be the go-to website for South Africans living and working, specifically in Ireland. Community, when we say community, it's not just the South African community in Ireland, but the community we now are part of. And thriving and well-being is absolutely the core focus for this community. We're also a member of the South African Chamber of Commerce, which I'd encourage you all to join if you're corporate or SME or in your individual capacity as well. So I thought I'll just focus on this community aspect. So this is actually one of the slides in our Howzit Ireland website. You can see at the top there, we have a whole page on community. That's where you can go and find communities. Here's an example of a Facebook community in Munster. If you look at the logo we've chosen, we've actually chosen the Irish flag, and we've chosen the South African flag inside that. So we are in Ireland, if you're in Ireland, and we're the South African component of that community in Ireland. And building stronger communities is sort of embraced around that logo purposefully, so that we can recognize that actually we need to be an integrated community, an integrated society. So very purposefully designed that way. A couple of web pages just to show you what Howzit Ireland website looks like. At the top there, focus again on community, business directory, membership, events and webinars, thought leadership. Thought leadership is articles, podcasts, etc., etc. On the front page there, big focus on the next webinars. There you can see today's date, the 15th of July, 2025. We'll change that tomorrow to the 19th of August, which is the next one. And just clicking through there to show you a couple of, this is also on the home page, focusing on our quarterly newsletter, which is called the Howzit Quarterly. And then also we do my money movies, which is, I'll show you a bit later what that's all about. That's for kids' financial education. This is the core focus of Howzit Ireland: events and webinars, community, and business. All right, so there's a lot of information, and this will grow. We're brand new. We've just launched recently. There'll be a lot of information going in here. So if you arrive in Ireland from South Africa, you'll start to see which communities can you be a part of. What's going on? What are the events? All the events in Ireland for South Africans in one place, not in 20 Facebook sites. Okay, we're putting them all in here. What are all the webinars? And who can you do business with, and who can you interact with, whether it be in South Africa or in Ireland? There's a little bit on the business directory, just to mention we've got packages. In fact, if you have a business, you can have a free bronze package with us. We have a page just for bronze advertisers. You can put your logo there in your description. If you want your links and your clicks through to social media, you can go for silver, and then ultimately platinum, you can have homepage advertising. So we have that available as well. This is the community page, whether it's a Facebook community, a LinkedIn community, Instagram, WhatsApp, whatever it might be. You can actually just post your community in this page. We're going to encourage all communities in Ireland to do so, so that we can see where all the communities are from a South African perspective. We have maps on all our pages, community pages, business pages, so you can actually go and see where all these companies are, where all the communities are, where the events are. All right, so very user-friendly to navigate. There's an example of all the events. Okay. All right, so I just wanted to share a couple of pages. There's another page from the Howzit Ireland website with all the membership benefits that I mentioned earlier, just specifically focused on Ireland. All right, so that's all. It's a whistle-stop tour and introduction of Howzit Expats, and then how we get to Howzit Ireland, focusing on building stronger communities. The focus of this session tonight is on our webinar, our first Howzit Expats community webinar. So I just want to introduce that to you and tell you a little bit about it and how it works. So we will have a standardized agenda every month. We will have the same time. We will have diverse speakers. In fact, one of the things, I've been living in Ireland for about 6.5 years, and I think one of the real value adds in what we're going to bring is diverse speakers on diverse topics, very interesting topics from South Africa, from Ireland, and from further abroad. So we'll always have 2 financial well-being topics. We call them financial well-being topics. They're very broad and all can be very specific. And then we've got 3 anchor topics as well. And partner news are sort of our, not advertisers, but people we want to promote and people that partner with us and that support our business. In fact, you're going to hear from 2 of them tonight. So the 2 financial well-being topics for this evening, there you can see SARS up on screen there. In fact, these are the 2 certainties in life, as they say, death and taxes. And the first one is around taxes, South African tax residency, why that's crucial for every expat to know what his or her tax residency status is, whether you've been in Ireland for 1, 5, or 15 years. And then the second topic for tonight is wills, your last will and testament. And the topic there is called Where There's No Will, There's No Way. So we're going to get into that in a second. In fact, just to say, if you become a member of Howzit Expats, you can actually ask questions on these topics before the time. So you'll know what the agenda items are and the topics are that are coming up for webinars. And I do often see questions on Facebook sites, as an example, about certain things where people ask each other. Well, you now have the opportunity actually to pose it into Howzit Expats, and we'll find the experts to answer that for you if you come and listen to the webinar, or if you're not available, you can just watch it online afterwards. All right, so Ask the Expert is available to all members. And we will have thought leaders on these webinars as well. So thought leaders, you think of companies such as tax consultants, immigration consultants, pet travel, thought leaders in different industries, different spheres, we will have on these webinars, and we will invite them actually to take part in Howzit Expats and Howzit Ireland, specifically in Ireland. Our 3 anchor topics, these will be the same every week, just very short, sharp sessions. You're going to hear from these people tonight. The first one is Triple T, top tax tips. Okay, a couple of top tax tips. Tax is very different in Ireland versus South Africa, as an example. So quite good to get a few tips. Big focus on wellness for us. We have a session called Rerooting, okay, spelled R-O-O-T, Rerooting. And we have Colleen's going to share some information on that tonight. And then we have what we call our Ubuntu session. The Ubuntu session being the cultural session. Okay, now we are in Ireland, and this session will be very much focused on how South Africans and Irish can integrate as a close community, and what we need to understand as South Africans coming to live in Ireland of the Irish culture. So I'm certainly looking forward to that. So that's sort of what the agenda will look like every month. 2 financial wellbeing topics, just to say, not every topic always interests everybody. And you can come and go as you'd like in these sessions, or you can watch them online afterwards. We give you a sort of a breakdown of the time, how long they might take, and you can work out when your session is coming up. All right, so just wanted to give you a flavor. This is our first webinar, just to tell you how it works. We won't repeat this every time. So the next webinar is on the 19th of August. And we have 5 potential topics in Ireland. We've got the mortgage application process in Ireland. We've got pensions in Ireland, the key differences with South Africa and Ireland. We've got transferring funds to and from South Africa. We have inheritances in Ireland versus South Africa, the key differences, and we've got state pensions. So how this works in Howzit Expats is, as a member, you can actually just go online and vote for your favorite topic. And the top 2 votes, items of the top 2 votes, are the topics that we will discuss. It's very difficult for us to know what's in demand, what's really needed out there in terms of information at any given point in time. So you will have the freedom to actually say, I'm really interested in pensions, or this topic or that topic. And in fact, if your favorite topic's not on our list, please feel free just to send us an email and tell us, we really want to hear about this topic. So that's absolutely fine. So let's get on to the agenda for this evening. There it is. The first item, financial wellbeing topic, is around tax residency. I'll be presenting that tonight. Now, in future, we're going to have a lot of experts and from South Africa and Ireland in these topics. We've just gone live a few days ago, so we're still in discussions with all our thought leaders who might want to take part in these sessions. And then we have our Triple T session. So that's going to be done by Craig Davidson, who lives in Ireland. He's actually in Johannesburg just landed today, but he is based in Ireland, in Dublin. And then the second financial wellbeing topic on wills, I will also present tonight. The rerouting session is Colleen Quist from Johannesburg in South Africa. And then lastly, the Ubuntu session is Garvin Rush, who you'll hear all about a little bit later. Garvin is a tour MD of a tour company in Dublin. Very excited to share our little 60-second slots. We have UncleBok. You're going to hear from Jeanette Hugo, and we have Beryl Teeling from the South African Gathering, telling us about a big event in September. All right, so that's our agenda. So we're going to jump right in. The first and the third sessions are going to be a little bit shorter tonight because we've spent this time on our introductions, and we won't do that in all the webinars. All right, so if you are ready, let's dive right in to the first topic, which is around tax residency. Now, I must share this with you. I've attended many tax seminars myself in the last couple of years, especially since I moved to Ireland. And they can be quite boring sometimes. They can be very interesting. Sometimes they can be quite scary. And sometimes I feel the presenters or the companies instill a little bit of fear in you to get some action going or get you to talk to them. So what I've tried to do in this topic is to just share the facts with you in the most simple way that I can, in terms of the way that I understand it. And hopefully you'll find that of value. And remember, if there's any questions on this afterwards, you can just send us an email as well. All right, so I've prepared one slide, a very busy slide, but I'm just going to park at the slide for a couple of minutes to talk through this. We're going to go clockwise through the colors. We're going to start green at the top left. And we're going to just talk a little bit about the history of this tax residency issue for South Africans and where we're at now. So the first thing to say in the green block there is a lot of confusion around tax residency, in my opinion. And in fact, I've done a lot of reading in this past few years too. There's even contradiction, I would say. Some companies say it's blue, somebody else says it's red. And then you've got to go and dig a bit deeper. What are they really saying? So these are some of the terms that you might hear: tax immigration, financial immigration, ceasing residency, expat tax exemptions, double tax agreements, or DTA. And I can carry on and on and on. There are actually many, all right? And this sort of starts to baffle the brain a little bit, because what is this all about? So just to focus this in, the key issue here, the essence of all of this, is your tax residency status. So if you look at the question on the left there, your SA tax residency status, that is really the issue. Where are you tax resident in terms of your status, okay? And if you need to change it, you need to go through a process called tax immigration, okay? Not immigration, tax immigration. All right, so just by way of introduction, shall we be talking about tax residency and we're talking about tax immigration. So what's all the fuss? Well, there's a little red heart there in the pink block. The long and the short is that the revenue service in South Africa, like most revenue services around the world, really loves all of us, and they are very interested in us, and that does not wane when you move overseas. In fact, sometimes their interest peaks when you go overseas. So SARS loves you, they love me. And for many years in South Africa now, we've had a worldwide residency-based tax system. And the essence of that being, if you earn income, if you are a tax resident in South Africa, wherever you earn your income worldwide, that gets taxed in South Africa. That's the general rule, all right? That's called the residency-based tax system. But now you decide to hop on a plane and come across to Dublin and pack your bags. Are you still a tax resident in South Africa or now in Ireland? That's the open question there in the pink block. Are you still a tax resident or not? Just before we carry on with that question, just in the light blue block at the top there, I just want to tell you a bit about this thing called expat tax exemption. Now, quite a lot of people in the world work overseas. They might not live permanently overseas, but they go overseas, do work, come back. There is this thing called expat tax exemption, which very briefly, if you work more than 183 days, if you work more than 183 days in a year, of which 60 of those are consecutive days, outside of South Africa, okay, you can get an expat tax exemption of up to 1.25 million rand in South Africa. There is a formula there. It's based on how many days over the whole year you've been and what your remuneration is, your foreign remuneration is working overseas. It's not for self-employed or sole proprietors. It's only salary and bonus, that kind of thing that they take into account. But in effect, they're saying that amount that's exempt from tax in South Africa is available to you, but there are some restrictions. All right. So you might hear that. That's got nothing to do with tax residency as such. That's just the expat tax exemption. All right. So let's move off that and talk about tax residency. So where you are a tax resident, prior to coming to Dublin, I was a tax resident in South Africa. Then I started working in Dublin in 2019. If you take my case, where am I now a tax resident? Well, in SARS's eyes, you remain a tax resident with SARS until you go through a process to change that. That's the key. That's the issue. Okay, if you haven't gone through a process, you're still a tax resident in the eyes of SARS. What does it mean in the top right block then, a little brown block? If we just have a look at that. What does it mean to be a tax resident in South Africa? It means you're taxed on your worldwide income, your annuity income, wherever that might be, in South Africa and overseas, you're taxed on that in South Africa. When you pass away and you've got to pay a state duty, what do you pay a state duty on if you're a tax resident? You pay a state duty on your global assets, your assets in South Africa as well as overseas. Donations tax, you pay donations tax in South Africa on all your donations made all over the world. Capital gains tax, the same. You pay capital gains tax. If you've got a property in Spain and you're a tax resident in South Africa and you sell your property in Spain, you pay tax, capital gains tax to SARS in South Africa on the property in Spain. And of course, like all good citizens in South Africa, we need to do a tax return every year. Those are our obligations. Those are the impacts of being a South African tax resident. If you change that and you become a non-tax resident, okay, you then only taxed, if you look at the purple block or the dark blue, whatever you might call that on the bottom right, if you become a non-tax resident in South Africa, you are only taxed on South African sourced income, not foreign sourced income. SARS has got no right to tax you as a non-tax resident on income that is sourced overseas. Okay, and source has got a specific definition as well. Source can be quite a little bit slippery, these days in terms of work from home, working online, etc. Where was it actually sourced? But there are rules around that. And again, state duty, donations tax, capital gains tax have certain implications if you're a non-tax resident. As an example, you don't pay donations tax to SARS if you're a non-tax resident. Okay, they can't claim that from you. You only pay capital gains tax on South African assets that you make a gain on, not assets overseas. So non-tax residents, there's still sometimes a right that SARS has, okay, when it's South African sourced income or generally assets in South Africa. You don't have to do a tax return anymore when you become a non-tax resident, unless you've got income to declare in South Africa. Okay, and then very importantly, and this is one that a lot of people are interested in because a lot of people who move overseas or move to Ireland would want to be interested in what's happening to their retirement fund pot, what's happening to their money, their either retirement annuity or their occupational pension scheme. So there's a rule that if you're a non-tax resident, only then can you get your pension fund out of South Africa, pay tax on it in South Africa, but get the rest out, but you've got to wait 3 years. All right, there's a process in yellow. I'm not going to go through the detail of that. You can have a look at it. There's a process in yellow to actually change your tax residency. All right, there's exit tax sometimes payable. Very important. It's like a deemed capital gains tax. And they work out the market value of your assets the day before you left. You can backdate tax residency changes. So if you left 3 years ago, you could backdate it to then. All right, so it's actually the day you left. And SARS can approve or decline your application. It's not automatic. All right, so there's certain processes for that. There are a lot of companies that help you with that. And if you need to do that and you're behind with your tax, it can be more complex and more costly, etc. All right, so just to summarize then this section, I've got 2 blocks left here. The brown one, second from the left on the bottom. And this is, I think, the value in having these discussions as a community in Ireland, South African community, is we can now talk about what is different in Ireland versus South Africa. So on taxes, there are actually some big differences. You would know this for those of you who've been living in Ireland and those that you're moving to Ireland, for you to be aware of it. The tax regime is different. You don't have a tiered tax scale like you do in South Africa. In Ireland, it's 20%, 40% is the marginal rate. And you've got different types of taxes in Ireland. PRSI, personal retirement savings, and USC, universal social charge. Donations tax is very, very different in Ireland and in South Africa. In South Africa, the person that donates, the donor, pays the tax. In Ireland, you don't get something called donations tax. It's lumped in with inheritance, and it's called capital acquisitions tax. And that the person who receives it actually pays that tax. There are certain exemptions up to a certain amount, but after that, it's the person who receives it. And then South Africa has strict exchange control. If you want to send money out, you have a 1 million allowance every year and then up to 10 million foreign allowance. You don't really have those restrictions in Ireland. All right, so I'm sharing this in this slide because when we think of tax residency, we need to be aware of when something's taxed differently in a country, how does the tax work there? And how does it compare? Do you actually pay more donations tax here? Is there a state duty here versus there, etc.? So just in summary, one of the advantages also of if you had to join Howzit Expats and become a community member is we will keep you abreast of regulatory changes. So a big one last year, bottom left, this little, what color would that be? Orange block. There were big retirement changes in South Africa the 1st of September. In essence, from 1st of September, if you're contributing to a retirement annuity or a pension fund, you have money splitting off two-thirds to what they call a savings pot and a retirement pot. And you're actually allowed to now go and get some money out of your savings pot if you need it once a year, minimum of 2,000, no maximum, but you pay tax at your marginal rate. Really, really quite harsh. And it also actually impacts bringing money overseas because the savings pot now can't be accessed. All right, so in a nutshell, in summary, financial wellbeing topic 1, I would ask you all just to consider your tax residency status. Does SARS know that you are working in Ireland? Are you still a tax resident? And if so, are you doing your tax returns? I haven't discussed double taxation, etc. There is a double taxation agreement between Ireland and South Africa, the essence of which is to avoid paying tax. And there are things what they call like tiebreaker clauses to determine sometimes where you should be tax resident if the facts are a little bit different. All right, so I hope that was of use. I'm going to step off the first topic and I'm going to move on in terms of our agenda to the next item. So the next topic for this evening is Triple T top tax tips, and we have Craig Davidson up from Ireland. Craig is a chartered accountant. He's a tax advisor. He's moved up to Ireland a couple of years ago, and he is actually in South Africa today, just on business. So, Craig, if I can hand over to you for the top tax tips.
Thanks, Lamont. Can everyone hear me and see me this time?
I can hear you.
And as Lamont says, I'm unfortunately, sod's law, I'm traveling to South Africa in a hotel room tonight in Joburg, but I've been living in Ireland for 3 years now. And I'm going to be doing your top tax tips tonight. So given the time of the year, it's important to know if you need to submit a tax return. If you are self-employed or you earn income outside the PAYE system, you may need to do a return. You have up till the 15th of November of this year to file for the tax year that runs from the 1st of January to the 31st of December 2024, a little bit different from South Africa. You will use the ROS online filing system, and you'd need to complete a Form 11 or Form 12. It's a very simple online system that most of you should be very comfortable to use. My top tip is you need to do this on time. There are automatic penalties if you don't submit by the 15th, and there is daily interest that's applied to your outstanding tax. However, the Revenue Service are very helpful. So if you have any questions or you're unsure, I'd encourage you to reach out and talk to them. And if you'd like to, obviously, approach a tax advisor. My second tip is to make sure that you claim all your credits that are due to you. Again, you do this on ROS on a Form 12. Almost all income earners are eligible for the PAYE and individual credits, but there are a bunch of additional credits. There's credits for single parents, over 65, blind people. You get 20% back on your medical expenses, 20% back on tertiary education above a certain threshold. Do a quick Google and you'll quickly work out what credits could be available to you. My top tip is that you can actually go back for 4 years and claim credits that you haven't previously claimed. But you need to keep the receipts for at least 6 years. And Revenue actually has a very handy receipts tracker tool. All you need to do is log on to ROS or My Account, and you can access it there. And then lastly, Mon touched on it briefly, but if you're fortunate enough to have a little bit of money over, you need to really consider topping up your pension. It's the best investment you can make. You get a tax deduction for your contribution. So if you're on the top tax bracket, you'll get back over 50% of your contribution from the tax man. The maximum you can contribute each year depends on your age. There's a 15% if you're under 30, and then up to 35% of your income if you're over 60. My top tip is you can utilize any of the unused part of your threshold over the last 3 years. So if you haven't had enough money to top it up previously, you can utilize what you've got left of your threshold for up to 3 years. And the cherry on the top is there is no CGT on the growth of your pension assets either. So really a great investment. I'd urge you to contact your favorite South African financial advisor for more information on that. So I hope you found these helpful. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your session.
Excellent. Thank you, Craig. Indeed, I think we will have quite a lot of information and sessions in future on pensions specifically. That's great. Yeah, so good tips there from Craig. So we have our first 60-second speaker up. So just to position this is the first time we are doing this. We have partners, we have collaborators in Howzit Expats and Howzit Ireland. UncleBok is very well known, I think, to everybody in Ireland. And Jeanette, Hugo, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Unfortunately, we've only given Jeanette 60 seconds. So tonight we're going to see how punchy she can. It's like making those kilograms of biltong this morning. But we have a little countdown here if it works. And then I will hand over to Jeanette for 60 seconds. There you can see some amazing products. And yeah, my mouth waters when I look at all of that. Not being a vegetarian, but yeah, amazing product. So over to you, Jeanette.
Thank you so much, Lamont. Yeah, like you said, I'm Jeanette. Hugo, my married name is actually Byrne. Hugo is my maiden name from South Africa. I started UncleBok, Biltong and Boerewors back in 2006. As we all know, there wasn't really anything like that available in Ireland. There was a few scraggly people here and there that was making a bit of biltong and boerewors for local communities and stuff. But I started making for a South African shop in Kilcock that used to be there, and it just grew from there to the point now that my husband had to leave his job in 2019 in Dublin to come into the business with me, and we've got a total of 5 employees at the moment. We supply all over Ireland. We've got a website, unclebok.ie, where you can order your favorite biltong, and it gets delivered via Ampost within 1 to 3 business days. And it's actually it's been a blessing to be able to be self-employed in Ireland, having come over here on a general work permit back in 2001. It's been an absolute blessing to be able to meet so many South Africans in my line of business that I could communicate with, and I can talk my own language with, because obviously I'm married to an Irishman, so I don't get to talk that much Afrikaans. So it's nice to have South African people ring me up nearly every day, and the first thing they would ask is, "Oh, can we talk Afrikaans?" And then it's just it goes from there. So needless to say, they like that their boerewors and biltong is made by a South African boeremeisie, because I grew up on a farm in South Africa. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and I'm looking forward to doing this for quite a few more years.
Thanks, Jeanette.
Thanks so much, Lamont.
Apologies for that, Jeanette Byrne. Yeah, correction there, Jeanette Byrne.
No worries.
Amazing products, and thanks for your support. Let's support Jeanette and the whole team there at UncleBok. All right, so over to financial well-being topic number 2. Where there's no will, there's no way. Why a will matters a lot in South Africa and in Ireland. So I'll be doing this slot. In fact, I used to be an attorney. One of my jobs many years ago, I drafted a few wills myself, so I thought I'll do this one today as well. We will have some solicitors and attorney experts on these topics in future as well. So similar slide, just quickly going through this. This will be very quick. We'll start at the top left green block there and just move around clockwise. So why the topic where there's no will, there's no way. No way to do what, you might ask? Well, there's no way to know what the deceased's wishes were if there's no will. That is the purpose of a will, so that we actually know once somebody's not there, they can't speak for themselves, we know what it is that they want to happen with all their assets and their estate. Really, really important. Probably one of the most important documents that we all have in our lifetimes. Sadly, many people don't have a will. I saw a stat the other day, I think it was Canadians, that said something like 2/3 of Canadians, I don't know if it's true, I read it, don't have a will. And when you die without a will, in the pink block there, that's called intestate. That's no will, or if you have a will, but it's actually not valid. So a key thing to realize with wills is you've got to have a will that's valid. And there are quite a lot of rules around the governance of wills to ensure that it is a valid will. As an example, you need 2 witnesses generally, okay, present at the same time, who witness the signing and who acknowledge the signature of the testator, the person that's signing the will. If you don't have that, it's not a valid will. It's not a legally valid will. You need to be of sound mind when you make a will. You know, you can't make a will when you can't think straight, for whatever reason. It's got to be in writing. Verbal, oral wills don't work, are not valid. It's got to be signed by the testator or someone on their behalf and in their presence. All right, so a lot of legalities. There are actually more. I haven't put them all there, but just to say that's what's really, really important. And sometimes when wills are disputed, these are the things that come out of the woodwork. Was it valid? Were the requirements met? In the blue block there can be quite a lot of complexities around wills. Certainly when things, a lot of people generally have one will in their life, and when things change, you need to update it. So if you had a house in Spain and you said that your son needs to get the house and you no longer have the house, well then, if you want your son to get something else, you better put that in the will because the house doesn't exist anymore, right? Dependents, second marriages can complicate things in wills sometimes. Not revoking a previous will. If you've had 5 wills or 10 wills in your life and you can't actually determine which one is the most recent one, how do you determine what are the wishes of the testator? And then, very important, where's the original? The original is the one that counts. It's a bit like winning the lotto. Okay, you need the original ticket here. Executors in Ireland, top right block, the brown block there. You can have up to 4 executors in Ireland. Executors are the people that administer and wind up the estate. 1 to 2 is common in Ireland. They can inherit as well. In fact, just for interest, an executor can also inherit something in the will. They're not entitled to fees in Ireland, other than their reasonable expenses, unless the will specifically provides for that. That's quite different in South Africa, very interesting, in the purple block there. South Africa, executors are entitled to, in terms of legislation, specific fees, percentage of fees. I think it's 3.5%, in fact. They can inherit, and normally you've got 1 executor in South Africa. There's some key differences in the yellow block there. Interesting things that if you look at it, you've got to be in South Africa, you can make a will from the age of 16. In Ireland, you've got to be 18. But if you're previously married and you're younger than 18 or still married, you can make a will if you're younger in Ireland. In South Africa, the state pays the state duty. Okay, it's either 20% up to 3.5 million and then 25% above that. So there's a state duty. If you die, there's a tax, right? It's expensive to die. There's tax, there's a state duty. And that's why you want to go through estate planning in your estate to make sure that you pay as little as possible in terms of estate duty. In Ireland, the beneficiary pays capital acquisitions tax. There's no such thing as a state duty in Ireland. It's tax, and actually it's pooled with the donations tax. Remember I said earlier, the donee in Ireland actually pays, the person who receives the donation in Ireland pays donations tax, but yeah, they call it capital acquisition tax in Ireland. The same with inheritances, they lump together. So some very, very big differences actually between Ireland and South Africa. A few more in this second bottom block from the right, the brown one there. Beneficiaries and their spouses can witness in South Africa, but not in Ireland. Okay, if they do in Ireland, they can't inherit. So if a beneficiary witnesses a will in Ireland and they got a car, they won't get the car because they're not allowed to witness the will. Key difference in South Africa. Generally in South Africa, you sign on each page and at the end only in Ireland. And then very important, the one at the bottom. If you don't have a will in Ireland, your spouse has a legal right to a share of your estate, and it changes whether they're children or not. Okay, there's no such right in South Africa. In South Africa, if you pass away, your wife doesn't have a right to a portion of your estate. In Ireland, he or she does. Very, very different, significantly different. And then lastly, if you put all of this together, I try to just share some interesting facts around these differences between Ireland and South Africa that few people would think about when they emigrate from South Africa to Ireland, let's say. The key question that comes up around your will then is your will still valid that you had in South Africa, in Ireland? Or vice versa, if you're moving back from Ireland to South Africa, is the will you had in Ireland valid in now, generally, wills are valid in other countries. The challenge is the dispensation can be so different and the rules can be so different that generally the guideline is actually to have a will in each country where you have substantial assets or where you've got specific interests. All right. So this question around, you need one, here's a little saying, one estate, two countries, three headaches, unless the wills are well coordinated. So if you had to have a will in Ireland and in South Africa, as an example, what's really, really important is that they're quite clear. What does each will govern? If you have a will in South Africa, what is it in respect of? And who's the executor? And what process will be followed, etc. So these things can be quite complex if you've got a larger estate, and really important to be aware of. But 101 wills is just to have a will. All right. So really important session. I'll stop it there. But I just wanted to say, we have some help here for you, and we have developed I think a very nice will preparation form for expats specifically, that for the first time answers the question and helps you answer the question when you move, whether your will's valid, where you should have a will, etc. So it's a quick questionnaire to complete. It's online. It's very easy to do. If you'd like a copy of it and you'd like to do it, it'll come to us and we can help you with that. And you can just email us at howzit@howzitisland.ie. And what we can do, if you need to proceed with a will, either in Ireland or South Africa or both, we can put you in touch with attorneys in South Africa and solicitors in Ireland as well. And we can get them actually to work together as a team if they need to, in terms of making sure the wills are collaborating and in your interests. All right, so enough on wills, really important. If you don't have a will, please get a will as soon as possible. All right, so gives me great pleasure to move to the next item, our anchor topic number 2, rerouting session. And I'm going to hand over to Colleen Quist from Johannesburg. Colleen, are you there? Over to you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. As you can see, I'm dressed in a few layers, so it's not as cold as it's been in Joburg, but yes, without our central heating, we get to feel it. So why rerouting? So I'm a coach. Lamont has invited me to join him because he said that it's very important, besides all the financial side, it's very important to have multiple aspects to you moving. And we also know that our audience may be thinking about moving. They may have already moved. They may be deciding to go back to South Africa. So wherever you are in the journey, the reason why I've called it rerouting is because we often feel, okay, we're moving. All right. We've got to dig up the roots that we've got in South Africa and either throw them away, or we must pack these roots and we must take them with. And then when we get to, in this case, Ireland, it's almost like, do you unpack those roots? What do you do with them? Do you say, okay, no, a lot of people feel like they're being disloyal to still keep South African roots. So you go, okay, no, got to throw these away now. And it's almost like then you start to now put down Ireland roots, Irish roots. And you see that a lot of people are battling with that. And what I would like us to see is that you don't have to have all. There's no like South African or Ireland. You can have and. You can have both. And also understanding as well is that when you're not being disloyal to South Africa to now adopt or adapt to an Irish way of doing things. You're also not being, so I see people do two different ways. Either they run down South Africa of like, oh, no, terrible. Everything was bad. It was totally, oh, terrible, terrible, terrible. And their new country is everything wonderful. Of course, that complicates matters when they decide they're going to come back, because then people go like, but everything was terrible here. Why are you coming back? But it's also about seeing like, where's the happy medium? I was smiling at Lamont the other day saying, when you go to an Ireland South African game, which jersey do you wear? And he said, you wear both scarves. That's what you do. And so it's just the happy medium of seeing, okay, you don't have to run down South Africa. The other extreme as well is people who believe that South Africa was just wonderful and everything was just wonderful and they had to leave. Whereas no country is 100% wonderful 100% of every day. They just aren't. So my message today is to say wherever you are in your journey, how you are accepting South African roots, putting down Irish roots, looking to see how you can belong, how you can walk in somewhere and think, oh, I feel at home now. It's also defining for yourself, where is home? And, like with some of my friends, we go like, oh, you're going home now, or are you going to your other home? Are you going to, but no, home is wherever you sleep, maybe. So it depends on how you define it. And what I'm also wanting you to realize as well is that in your journey, you don't have to do it alone. So it's quite difficult sometimes when we lean on family and we lean on friends because they're in different parts of their journey. Sometimes where you're having a real sad day, somebody else may not be having a sad day. And so it's also important then that you reach out to a professional, coach of just being able to vent on a Sunday or cry on another day or be absolutely beyond angry on another day, because that's what happens. It's grief. It's letting go of your world is how you knew it and adapting to a new world. But my take-home message is don't feel like you need to dig up those roots and burn them. You can still keep them and just put down new roots. And so that's why I've decided to call this segment Rerooting, in that not only are you changing path and going in a different direction, you're also putting down new roots, but you don't have to dig up those old ones. So you are loved, you matter, and you're not alone. Thanks, Lamont.
Thank you, Colleen. Excellent. Rerooting. I like that. We're going to hear from Colleen, and in fact, Craig. I didn't mention it there. Every webinar, every monthly community webinar, just for a couple of minutes like now, giving us a few ideas and food for thought. So up next, we have our second 60-second partner slot, and we have the South African gathering, which is happening on the 13th of September. And to do that, just to check whether we have Beryllyn on the line. Beryllyn, you with us? Beryllyn is going to tell us about the South African gathering.
How's it, everybody? My name's Beryllyn. I'm talking to you today just in connection with the South African gathering in Ireland. We are holding our 7th annual event this year on the 13th of September at Ballykilcavern in Stradbally, County Laois. We started our first gathering in 2018. It was just to get South Africans together to connect, to eat boerewors rolls, listen to South African music, kids have a good time, have a few beers, and just really chat and have a great day. We will go ahead irrespective of rain, sun, thunderstorms, whatever. We will be definitely going ahead on the day. It's a great day for small South African businesses wanting to share their products. Great day for kids, lots of activities, lots of music, and hopefully lots and lots of fun. Hope to see you there.
Now, this is the Ubuntu session, and we have Garvin Rush from Dublin. Lovely to have a local lad with us on Howzit Expats and the Howzit Island session. So Garvin and I met each other very recently at our launch here locally. It's always hard to judge somebody when you see them on the screen. I didn't think he would be taller than I was, and he was. So it's really great to have you. So Garvin, I will hand over to you.
Thanks very much, Lamont. Good evening, everybody. Just a bit of background on myself. So I run a tour company in Dublin that offers private walking tours of the city. It's less so about pointing at a building and telling people the architect and the year it was founded or set up, more about explaining the culture of Ireland, the history of Ireland, to get a better sense of the Irish mindset, the Irish character, how that came about, and all those episodes that formed that character over the centuries. And in my monthly or so slot of Ubuntu, we're going to be focusing on understanding Irish culture with a view to better, adapting to your new home here in Ireland, right? Kind of my background in this, not just kind of the history and the tour guiding, comes from my own experience in Sweden and in France, more so in Sweden, where you expect everything to be the same, and then you go to this new country and things are different and you don't know why. And at first you're kind of surprised. Eventually you get frustrated and you let that frustration fester. Then it can kind of turn into anger, resentment, and maybe even abhorrence for your host country, simply because you don't understand, right? And I can imagine some of you are at least lightly nodding your head along with me. So next slide, Lamont. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about kind of where the Irish come from. So today, obviously, this is your map of Europe with all those borders and all those different countries, etc. But a long time ago, the map looked very different. Next slide, please. So this is Europe around 250 BC. And there's these people called the Celts. The Greeks called them the Keltoi, and that's why we say Celts instead of Celts, whereas the Romans called them the Gauls. And as you can see, they started from this kind of Switzerland, Austria area, around about 800 BC. They expanded out. This is, you could say, the zenith of the Celtic world, going all the way from, of course, Ireland, but also Spain, east towards Turkey. And if anyone grew up going to Mass, you will hear about St. Paul writing letters to the Galatians, right, which were a people that lived in modern-day Turkey up until roughly around 300 AD. So a Celtic people lived there. So loads of different Celtic tribes. And the reason the Celts did so well is because they discovered iron. So they literally had the edge over everybody else, using the other ones all used their bronze weapons, and these guys were using iron. So if you look in Central Europe, you can see names like Helvetii. And if anyone has been to Switzerland, you know that the Swiss like to reference their country as Confédération Helvétique. So they like to lean on their Celtic ancestry. Obviously, looking a bit further north there, you got Belgae. So Belgium takes its name from the Belgae. The French like to imagine that they are descended of the Gauls, because of course the Franks were a Germanic tribe, and they don't like to remember that. They kind of like to cut that out of their minds, right? So they like to kind of feel an affinity with the Gauls, and obviously with the Irish as well. And of course, Britons, right? The island of Britain is named after the Britons, not the other way around, right? So these were Celtic people. And of course, you have the Gaels. So the Gaels came to Ireland roughly from about 600 BC. So you could say that Irish culture is about 26 centuries old, which is about 1,000 years older than English culture. I'm just making comparisons here. So of course, as time goes on, the Roman Republic becomes an empire, kills a load of Gauls. Germanic tribes come in from the north. Slavic tribes come in from the east. And today, next slide, this is all that's left of the Celtic world, just these fringes on Western Europe. So Celtic culture is evident here. You obviously have Galicia down there at the bottom, but they don't speak any Celtic languages there anymore. Whereas the rest of the dark green area, there are Celtic languages. So obviously, when you arrived at the airport, you became aware of this weird language called Irish or Irish Gaelic or Gaelga. In fact, it is Gaelic, but Gaelic is a branch of Celtic languages. So there's Irish Gaelic, Scots Gaelic, and even Manx Gaelic. So the Isle of Man there in the middle of the Irish Sea. So they're all kind of related. They would all be, let's say, relative brothers, whereas the Irish and the Welsh would be more like cousins in terms of how that culture works. But I'm going to finish my slot by telling you kind of one of the mind-blowing facts that I like to throw at people on my tours. The difference between Welsh and Irish is bigger than the difference between English and German. So German and English are separated by 15 centuries. Welsh and Irish are separated by 20 centuries. That is 2,000 years. So a little insight into where the Irish came from, how different the Celts are from a lot of the rest of Europeans. In a lot of ways, how much older and ancient the culture is. And therefore, there's been a lot of history, there's been a lot of developments, and there's been a lot of influences over that time. So I'm going to conclude with, I suppose, hopefully inspiring you to delve into these other Celtic languages maybe, and you might end up down a rabbit hole of YouTube videos looking at various European linguistic branches. So that's all for me from tonight. Thanks very much for joining me.
Excellent, Garvin. Thank you so much. Really, really interesting. Quite a lot to digest there, actually, and makes one want to pick up a few books to go and read a little bit of the history. So really, I'm looking forward to the next month's session. So that was our agenda for today, our first community webinar. So what makes a community webinar different? It's by the community, it's for the community. We're talking about things in our Irish community, South African expats. So just to end off with a couple of things, and then we're going to do a lucky draw. Our newsletter, the Howzit Quarterly, is going to come out in the next 6 weeks or so. It's going to be really interesting. And if you read this quarterly newsletter, you will be abreast of the key things you need to know as a South African expat in Ireland. Should be really, really interesting. I mentioned How's My Business webinars earlier. In fact, we have one in 2 days' time. Today's the 15th of July. On the 17th of July, we have embraced a very important webinar by Zurich Insurance Company on a very important topic called pensions, auto-enrollment in Ireland. So for those of you who don't know, from 1 January next year, every employee working over the age of 23 has to contribute to a pension fund in Ireland. There's certain T's and C's, but it's quite a big change. So for employers, if you'd like to attend that, you can just send an email to howzit@howzitisland.ie, and we will send you the link to that Zurich webinar. All right, so just in terms of community membership, if this is the kind of webinar you like, if this is the kind of activities you want to get engaged in, you're very, very welcome to join. You just sign up online on your mobile or your phone. You choose your country. In this case, it would be Ireland, soon to be United Kingdom as well. Our memberships are 12 months, span for 12 months, and you can pay monthly or annually. And there's the price up. I'm not a smoker. I believe it's monthly. It's less than the price of a cigarette, but 99 euros for a year or 9.90 a month for a 12-month membership. If you don't want to do that, you can just come to these webinars in future, and you can buy a ticket online for 20 euros. But there are a lot of benefits in terms of being a member. So hopefully my invitation to you is to join and to become a Howzit Expats member as soon as possible. So let's get on to our draw to end off the evening. We have got 8 amazing prizes. Okay, so how the draw is going to work is like this. We have 8 people who have fingers fast on the button. I'll just read out the names quickly. We have number 1, Grant Blomkamp, number 2, Nadine, number 3, Brandon, number 4, Harold, number 5, Berylin, number 6, Una, number 7, Diane, and number 8, Graham. All right, so your number is on the wheel. So let's see who is going to be the winner, and then we will draw for the prize. Here we go. Number 2. Well done, number 2. That is Nadine. Congratulations, you are a winner. Let's spin to see what you are going to win. Oh. Nadine, congratulations. You get prize number 7. I don't have the list in front of me right now, but congratulations and well done. So there are the prizes. Number 7, a 50% silver advertising package, off a silver advertising package is your prize, and that includes a membership. If you don't have a business, you can actually give that package to somebody else, all right, as the winner. So well done. We will do this draw every week. Just to tell you the mystery prizes today, thank you to our sponsors. We have an online coaching session from Colleen. We have a 30-minute tax review by Craig. 3-hour Dublin walking tour by Garvin and his team there for a group of 5, Dublin tour guide. That's like almost worth 300 euros. Really massive prize. Thanks, Garvin. And then we have a family entry to the South African gathering. That wasn't won today now, but we'll put that up again next month. And then we have a Biltong and Drive Horse hamper from UncleBok. All right, so congratulations. Just to mention, we'll be going to the UK in the next couple of days. Howzit United Kingdom will be launched there shortly. They're exactly same, along the same lines as Ireland, and very focused on the communities in the UK as well. So just to end off with, we're very focused on financial education for kids, and we've got this concept called Howzit Expats My Money Movies. We're going to be posting movies every month, once a month. The purpose of this actually is, as adults, as parents, for us to have these discussions with our kids at home using a very simple, short 60 to 90-second video on topics like insurance, savings, budgeting. This is sort of what the videos look like. There's one on budgets, and we really want to encourage you to have these discussions with your kids from a very young age. If you enjoyed the webinar tonight, thank you very much for coming. Please tell your friends in Ireland. This is the very first one. We've just started. Thanks for your patience in the run-up to this in terms of the invites and all the technical challenges. It's quite normal, I think, for a little startup. But we're very excited that you could come along. And just a big thank you from my side as well. So it was a pleasure to host you. I hope to see you all on the 19th of August. That's our second Howzit Ireland community webinar. So I'm going to play out now with one of those videos for you to have a look at, and I won't come back again. So thank you very much for coming. It was great to have you all with us.
Hello, friends. Today we're learning about something super cool, saving money. This is Jack. He's 2.5, and he's saving for a big camping trip with his parents. Ruby is 8, and she's saving for a shiny new bicycle. Vroom. Anne is 6. She's saving to buy her very first watch. TikTok. And James, who's 8, is saving for guitar lessons. Rock on. Saving means keeping your money so you can buy something special later. It helps you reach your goals. Even grown-ups save. Jack's parents are saving for the same trip. Saving is for everyone. Saving teaches patience and feels amazing when you reach your goal. I save a little every day to buy the things I really want. Hooray! What will you save for? Talk to your family and start saving today.
Excellent. Thanks for coming. And I will see you all hopefully next month. Cheerio. Bye-bye.